All right, good morning. Good morning, wild ones. I want to talk to you today about barefoot shoes. You guys know I'm a big fan of going barefoot, barefoot, right? The more you go barefoot, the more your feet get used to the ground underneath them. Having bare feet is the way we were intended to actually walk. You have a numerous amounts of muscles and tendons, ligaments and bones in those feet. Over 200,000 nerve endings that are looking for sensory feedback. And when we stick them inside of a shoe, they're not getting as much sensory feedback as they could be getting if they were out barefoot on the ground. Now, I know not everybody can go barefoot everywhere. I work from home. I can go barefoot pretty much all day long. But I wanted to share with you a little bit about the science behind the barefoot shoe. So most of you do wear probably a shoe similar to this. This is just your typical tennis shoe. This one actually does have a little bit more of a wide toe box to it, which is kind of cool. But you can see that it has a bit of a lift to the heel. So I want you to think about your gait mechanics when you're walking and walking and walking. If your heel is lifted, that shortens the Achilles and shortens the calf. It puts the hips on a forward motion so that you're constantly in this position as opposed to being straight up and down with your walk. So one of the things that happens when we have any kind of a shoe with a lift in it, we're finding that our body mechanics are not working as well. And if you've done any of my hip cars, the controlled articular rotations for the hips, and you're feeling tightness or you're feeling that you don't have that mobility, some of that can be from the shoe heel that you have. All right, secondly, whenever you are working or you have a pair of shoes on, most of the time those shoes are pretty narrow in the toe box. Our toes, when we've been in what I like to call feet coffins forever, they tend to look like this. You see how those are all squished together? That's what most of our shoes tend to do to our toes. Our toes are meant to splay out nice and wide. Have you ever seen a baby's feet? They're nice and wide and they've got nice wide toe splay to them. This is what healthy toes look like. You can see that there's actually air between my toes. I'm not spreading them out right now. This is just a natural form for me. And I like this because it gives me more grip strength. Now, I will tell you that for the longest time, I would not go barefoot because I am clumsy. But this is what I found. When I began to go barefoot, I began to become more aware of where I was stepping, more aware of my surroundings. I used my clumsiness as an excuse to stay in shoes. Now, that's not to mean you don't have to wear shoes or you can never wear shoes. So let's talk about what a good barefoot shoe might look like. There's numerous ones out there on the market. If you're on my Instagram, you'll see them in my stories. If you want to know more about what barefoot shoes are out there, let me know. I can send those to you. If you go to my website, you'll see my blog about the barefoot and about the barefoot shoes. So this is one barefoot shoe. As you can see, it has no heel lift to it. It's flat against the ground. This is called a zero drop shoe, okay? It's very flexible. I can completely bend this in any fashion and any form. So what does that do for us? Oh, and it has a wide toe box. This actually has a little bit narrower of a toe box than I like. I just recently bought another pair of Vivo barefoot shoes because as I've been going true barefoot, like true barefoot outside, my foot width has become a little wider. And I did get another pair of the Vivos and they actually weren't wide enough, so I had to send them back because my feet are getting wider. So when we are in this type of a shoe and we're squishing those toes together and there's not much, now these actually have pretty good amount of flex to them. It's just unfortunate that they've got this heel. But when yours are real tight and they don't go anywhere, what happens when you need to walk? So let me show you what your foot should be doing when you're walking. So if you are in a shoe that has no flex to it, you're actually not able to bend the toe. Instead, you're rolling on the shoe, and there's no actual bend to the toe, which that toe is important for it to bend. Now, if you're bending out like this, there's a tendency that that big toe joint or your ankle is weaker. Your toes should be coming straight over the top, just like that. If you're someone who has a bunion, which means those toes are being pulled in, that's from wearing toes with, or shoes with, maybe you're in heels all day. Maybe you have a job where you constantly have to have your feet stuffed down into pointy toes. You actually don't have to. They actually make great barefoot shoes for even people in the professional world. So what you're going to want to do is make sure that you are working with this big toe. And I'm going to put together a video that will show you that exactly. But today is just about the barefoot shoe. So if you're interested in transitioning into a barefoot shoe, let me know and I will definitely lead you in the right direction. But you're definitely want to start looking for shoes that have what's called a zero drop and that are flexible. These are actually made by a company called Whitin, W-H-I-T-I-N. You can get them on Amazon. These are the least expensive of the barefoot shoes. This is the first barefoot shoe I ever tried because I wasn't sure if I'd be able to do it, to be honest with you. And I've loved them. I've had these for 2 years. They have really held up, mostly because like in the last probably 6 months, I've tried to go as barefoot as possible, not even in shoes. But there's times, you know, when some people actually, there's a whole barefoot society that goes to stores and all places that are totally barefoot. I'm not quite there yet. If I am out and about, I do like to have my actual barefoot shoe on. So there you go. Looking for that zero drop, looking for that flexibility, looking for the nice wide toe box so that your feet have room to splay out. Like I said, I'm going to do a little video on some foot and toe exercises, and I'll also show you the toe splay that I use to go in between my toes, called correct toes. All right, I hope you enjoyed that, a little bit about barefoot, and I hope you will get outside, actually get your feet on the ground, get them into the grass, get the beauty of those nerves working and feeling the ground around you. Okay? All right, see you next time.